Hello, welcome to the June 7th, 2023 meeting of the Town of Kennebunkport Planning Board. We have, for attendance, we have everybody here. We're all here, except for Werner, but, you know, that's okay. But all the members of the board are here, and the town planner is here, so we're in good shape. Okay, the first item is the approval of minutes of the last meeting, the 5/17 meeting. Everybody had a chance to read them?
Yep.
I confess to not getting to them. They came yesterday, I see, but I wasn't available to look at them. I apologize.
We'll tell you whether they're good or not.
And I'm happy with that.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay.
Defer,
You're gonna pass.
a pass, I guess is the right word.
Approve.
Approve, approves,
Approve.
and you.
Oh, I'll approve. I'm not gonna vote tonight. So am I.
You're excited.
Okay, which brings us to the agenda. First item on the agenda is item 230401, Mills Road subdivision. Michael Tadema-Weidland is presenting for Teradyne. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the introduction. Again, it's Mike Tadema-Wieland. I'm a civil engineer with Teradyne Consultants. I'm here with Pat Dooling, who's the applicant and owner of this parcel. And we're here for a public hearing on the final application. I did provide a packet of information dated May 31st to you folks, which hopefully addressed everything outstanding that we talked about on May 17th, which was the last time we were here. I'll give a quick sort of bullet point of what those were, and then answer any questions, and then we can hopefully open it up for public comment. The first thing we provided were some revisions to the declaration of covenants, conditions, restrictions. Hopefully we addressed the concerns related to pesticide, herbicide, and fertilizer use. We beefed that section up. A lot of that information comes right out of the guidance documents straight from the state. And again, hopefully that addresses the concerns. The other thing we added was a section on bird collisions with windows, provided some information. And just sort of, a statement saying this is important. Please consider using these, implementing these suggested methods for reducing bird collisions with windows. We've provided correspondence from the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. That was something that was an oversight on our part. We left it out of a previous application. So you'll find that in the packet. They've reviewed the project site essentially for any red flags related to potential historic or prehistoric items on the site, and issued us a no further action or no further consultation recommendation. We've provided some revised plans. These are just really minor, mostly notes on the plans. We've added a couple of the buffers that we've talked about in the past and are in the referenced in a lot of the other documents, but didn't make its way onto the plan, so that those are now on there. There was a question about cul-de-sac dimensions and whether or not they complied with what the fire department was recommending, so we've provided some further information on that. Hopefully that satisfies that concern. And a quick update on other permits and other reviews. Number one, Acorn has reviewed, Acorn issued an initial review of the stormwater management back when we submitted the preliminary application. We responded to those questions and comments, and they just recently, I think earlier this week, I think on Monday, issued another, or I guess it was an email saying they're satisfied with our responses and they don't have any further comments on our stormwater design for the project. Maine DEP, we were hoping to have that stormwater permit for you today. I've been in contact with the project manager over at DEP. She's written the permit. It's been approved by the stormwater engineering reviewer at DEP, and it's my understanding that it's in Augusta on the desk of the person who needs to sign that and send it down to us. So that's imminent. We hope to have that any minute now. And we've similarly, the DOT entrance permit, that's been submitted, and we're awaiting a response from DOT on that.
So those are things which, if we don't have them when we approve it, we put them as things that have to be done before any permits are issued.
We'd be happy to have those as conditions of approval if the board would entertain approval. So that's all the information I think we've provided. I'm happy to answer any questions on any of it.
Mike? Do you have any
Yeah.
questions?
I guess after the last meeting, I was a bit concerned with how the discussion was going, kind of requiring the herbicides and pesticides and fines. And so I went back and I looked at the subdivision and land use regs. And in there, you know, the one thing I found was the reference that you also picked up to the management practices and that. So I actually found there, and that aligned with what you did. So I felt that was all right. But after that, I kind of went into things that we're talking about, identified and mapped significant concentrations of contaminants and kind of definitions of significance. And I thought we got to be careful, because if another group is working to put together guidance or an ordinance, that means it's not covered by what we currently have. And so we got to be careful of overstepping what we're doing to kind of make a decision here on what's required for the site. And I thought we were getting really close to the edge with the last meeting.
Did you approve of how he changed?
I think he's more than met with what is required and what they have, but I just felt that we need to be careful of what we're requiring as conditions of approval.
Right.
Of going a bit, you know, I know it's an issue, and it's an issue that needs to be worked, but it's beyond really the regulations that, ordinances that are in place currently.
Given the land use ordinance, I'm not sure that it is beyond, if you go and look at 1010A and 1010B.
Okay, because I looked at a.
And I would for the actual land use ordinance, and so I would disagree with you there. Now, I appreciate that you've put in the state guidelines and you've practically done them word for word.
Yeah.
But I'm going to reiterate, and I'll let this go, but I'm going to reiterate that this is a sensitive area. You've got a lot of pools in there. You've got wildlife issues in there. And I can tell you right now what's going to happen. And this is happening all over Kennebunkport. It's nothing that's special to you. You're going to be basically poisoning insects, poisoning birds. You're going to lose your wildflowers, and you're going to lose a lot of your wildlife. And I can tell you exactly, because it's happening on my property. And basically, I don't use pesticides on my property, but I have chestnut trees that I've grown from seed for USDA and for the American Chestnut Society. And they were at the edge of my property. And all of May was windy. And the guy who owns the house next to me hires landscapers. And the landscapers don't care when they come out. You're not supposed to, according to state guidelines, spray on windy days above 5 and 10 miles an hour. We didn't have one of those days where it was that low in May. And the end result was I have 6 dead trees because they came and sprayed, and it drifted over on me. The other guy next door uses pesticides on his lawn and fertilizers, okay? I used to have a whole bunch of dogtooth violets and a lot of other wildflowers. They're gone because it drifts. It just drifts with the rain. And what's going to happen is you're going to get people buying houses in there, and some of them don't want to take care of their lawns, so they hire people. They don't hire people like my next-door neighbor, who's a landscaper, who will not use pesticides, but keeps lawns in Cape Arundel beautiful. They hire people who want to make money selling pesticides. And the end result is that they want to spray for mosquitoes, which leaves less food for birds that eat insects. It poisons the ground. We have like 2 or 3 robins I see around now, and 5 years ago we used to have flocks. This is what happens. That's why I think we should be moving toward really strict regulations. But I agree with you. It's up to the Conservation Commission to get this through and get it
Yeah,
codified.
and I have no problem with us educating, putting information out there and
Right.
recommending. It's just the mandating with fines that I felt
Yeah,
is
we-
too much.
Right.
We can't
mandate
do
the
that.
fines until-
Right.
But to
Fill them
educate,
unless there's a,
to educate, share the information and get it out there because it's a real issue, absolutely, we can do that. But something beyond that, I don't feel was within our
we sort
remit.
of all know that. It's just,
There's also a difference when you're not in a subdivision that's regulated and you have an individual house.
And then there
is
are no-
jurisdiction
There's
over
no
the neighbors next to
jurisdiction
you.
over it, that's right.
right. So it's better getting as much info
Yeah.
into into the HOA
Yeah.
Right.
as you have.
And info is good.
Okay.
So Mike, I'd like to make a comment, starting on page 8, 7, and 8. What you've done for this subdivision is fantastic, in an attempt to make all comply with what Nina was saying. So I just have one question, that would be on page 14, 7.06, the right to expand the size of certain lots after sale. If you could just clarify that?
Yeah, this came from the applicant's attorney, so I'm just gonna read it real quickly and I'll give you my take on what it means. So I think the plain language is it gives the declarant the right to modify lot lines. It looks like it's referencing changes of length of the proposed road. What I would add is, I don't know why that's specifically in here from a legal standpoint, but if any of that were to happen, this project would have to come back to the planning board for an amendment to the approved subdivision plan. So again, I don't know why
was the
the
point.
lawyer felt like it needed to be in there, but, maybe there's been a project in the past that has needed, so it gives the declarant, in this case, the applicant, the ability to amend that, but again, it would have to come back to this board.
Well, in the same way that you swapped some land because there was some encroachment, it gives you the right to modify some things.
Okay.
Probably street right-of-ways and things like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm good.
You good? Okay, so I'm going to open up the public hearing. Do we have any people who want to discuss this particular? Okay, I see none. Any hands raised on Zoom?
We have 5 Zoom attendees, no one has their hand raised.
Okay, well then, accordingly, I'm going to close the public hearing. And I guess
You want a motion?
I will take a motion at this point.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
Very good.
I agree.
Agree.
Agree?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay. So, it's approved. Mike gets to do the
Right up.
finding of facts.
Yep, I've got a draft that Warner's looked at.
Okay, and it wants to have the things he hasn't quite gotten.
Yep.
The signatures need to be.
Yeah, those were just,
Additions.
outstanding.
Yeah.
And we'll get that in and I'll get that over
Super.
to look.
You can pop it out to the rest of us to take a peek also. Good, so we'll be reading that next time.
Great, thank you. Thanks to the board, this was a thoroughly reviewed application on a tough site, so thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Takes more than half of my pile.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you won the paperweight.
Okay, that brings us to item number 2,
Yeah.
which is item 230404, 803 Kings Highway, John Gallant / Michael Bedell, and Kennebunk River Architects. So, and this is will be a public hearing. We heard about this last time, and
Good evening. Mike Bedell from Kennebunk River Architects, here for John Gallant at 803 Kings Highway. The last time, there was just a few little items, and I believe I submitted everything to Michelle, which hopefully was passed back along to the board. The other thing that we've done is, as we're working back through the construction documents, we're working to add Nina's comments of the bird proofing on the windows in there so that it's at least taken under advisement by the owners, that it should be considered prior to construction.
Yes, I'm bird lady of the planning board.
But outside of that, I guess we're waiting for you.
okay. So, I guess we'll start with Larry. Since you're
Okay, yeah, so, thanks for your info. So I have several observations and requests. I think my first request, I'd like to receive a signed and dated application form. The one I have is not signed or dated.
Okay.
And I know you sent us a whole bunch of info, but I'd appreciate it if you could just combine all that documentation into a single dossier, okay? And so the list of items I would like to see in the final signed and dated application would include the agent authorization, the deed, the list of abutters, the DEP form that you say you have, the drawings both for the existing structure and what you propose to, how this proposed structure would superimpose on top of that, and then also some comments on your erosion control measures. I didn't see that in your documentation. So if you could just compile all of that into a single dossier, that would really help me finalize, the review, okay? Then I had several other rather more specific comments, some of which you heard last time. But my first comment is that the maximum height in Goose Rocks is 30 feet, and I think you're showing your height, your house to be 32 feet.
Yes.
So, anyway, you need to, if you haven't already done it, you need to revise your drawings to show a 30-foot maximum height above ground level, and then how that would affect your layout. So that's my first comment. Then my other comment is I'd appreciate if you'd show your elevations on the drawings, because I couldn't actually finish, I couldn't follow your documentation there. And specifically, let's just take a look at the drawings here. So on your first drawing, you show that the average grade is 13.97 feet. That's about 14 feet above sea level, okay? So then, on your foundation drawing, you show a note that says the top of the piers are 3 feet above the grade, so that would put the top of the piers at 16.97 feet, right? And then, on the next drawing, the first elevation drawing, it's, you show some information, but it was difficult for me to figure out where the elevation started. So knowing that the average elevation is 13.97, the top of your piers is 16.97, then you have a subfloor. Anyway, if you could just add elevations to your drawings, that would help a great deal.
Sure.
I couldn't understand any of that. And then in terms of the horizontal layout on your drawing, on your plan views, so I noticed that you've got the, as you should, as you know, which is good, you've got the, at the top of the page, you've got 30 feet 11 inches as the out-to-out dimension. But then at the bottom of the page, if you add those two dimensions together, 15'6" and 14'4 1/4, it comes out to 29'10" 1/4. So if you could reconcile those two numbers, make them consistent. And then on the east-west dimensions, I presume you're gonna scrub all of your dimensions here, okay?
So on the east-west, there's a jog in the building, so that's where the discrepancy.
I don't want to debate this. I'm just telling you what I found, so I'm asking you to scrub all of your dimensions and make sure they're all consistent. I found one inconsistency, okay? Not calling it an error, I'm just saying inconsistency. Then my other,
You understood the page, right?
Yes,
Okay.
so then my other comment is, okay, so essentially, this house is on the seawall there at Goose Rocks. Okay, so you are going to, I guess you're going to dig a hole to make the piers, to install the piers, right? So then you're going to backfill around the piers?
Yes.
You're going to fill it in?
Correct.
Okay, good, because I was concerned about that issue. Then, let me see here. Oh, yes. Then I was trying to duplicate, on your percent of building percent of the lot occupied by a building, you say the existing to 16.38%, okay, I don't know because you didn't show us the existing building. And then you said the proposed is 16.38. Well, I could not duplicate that number. So if you could just scrub that and make sure, because it looks to me like what you proposed, the building you propose is only going to occupy 14%, which is good, but I'd still like to be able to comprehend how you get these numbers, okay? So in a nutshell, that's my comments.
thank you.
That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Everything's understood?
Yes.
So I can't, I actually started the finding of facts. I can't progress any farther until you've provided all the updated documentation, okay? So I'm waiting on you.
Will do.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ed,
Nothing else.
Nina?
No, Larry already asked the questions that I was going to ask.
Larry stole your thunder, okay.
Right,
Well, he's the case manager, so that's okay.
that's right.
Engineer, fine.
You good?
Yep.
You guys? Okay.
I just had one question, and maybe I've got this one mixed up with the other, but there was fill being brought in on this one?
Well, no, they're gonna dig a hole to put the piers in, and they're gonna backfill in order to.
Okay, because I couldn't figure out where this fill was going that was.
Well, it's in the foundation. If you look at
Yes.
that's not the, okay, you need to look at the foundation drawing right there. Another, yeah, right there, okay?
All
So,
right, as long as it's covered, because.
see, right here, see, they're gonna dig to put these piers
Yeah.
in, then they're gonna backfill in order to retain the integrity of the seawall.
Okay, all
All
right.
right.
That was, okay, because I thought it was some additional to the
No.
foundation. All right, good deal then.
And then,
Thank-
and then, of course, that reminds me, and then, of course, I would appreciate, your, a little more information on a little more detailed information on your various concrete constructions.
Sure.
I think you might want to there's a whole bunch of standard details that really help you with this, okay? So I'd appreciate you taking a look at that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So, George? Okay, so I guess we have our comments. This is a public hearing. I think from the sound of what you're saying, I think we're probably going to end up continuing the public hearing
Well,
for the next
I
time,
think we're going to need to continue until next time, yeah.
which is fine. But why don't I open it and see
Yeah.
if anybody has comments on this? So I'm opening the public hearing on this particular item. No one. Anybody raising hand?
No raised hands.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we continue the public hearing to next time, give him a chance to answer all of Larry's questions. And then we'll reopen the public hearing after seeing all your answers next time. That's all right.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we've been taking votes on continuing public hearings, so I'm going to move that we do so,
I'll second.
okay? And
Concur.
I concur.
concur,
Approve.
okay, good.
We'll just sit here. and
So
wait.
that brings us to item number 3, which is
Yeah, maybe in your case.
21 Norwood Lane. That's item 230405, 21 Norwood Lane, Mark and Catherine, whatever, and John Eisenstatler from KRA again, will be presenting.
This is,
I am, on behalf of my clients, Kate and Mark Bottager, I'm, pleased to submit resubmit, or continue submitting this application. From some of Nina's comments on seeing the overlay, I blew up the submission so you could see it a little better. And as you can see, the whole structure is in the setbacks from the 2 water resources. So I color-coded, this green one is coming from that green resource, comes all the way over here, and the red one came from the resource over here, so you can see the whole place is in the setback. So the proposal is to take down the existing barn garage structure, which I've hatched up here, and move it forward, getting it 37 feet away as opposed to 22 feet away. The downside is it does encroach a little further on the side setback. Currently it's 2 feet, and it's going to be encroaching a maximum of 4 feet. Additionally, this is the current grade line approximately. We want to bring in 30 inches of fill, which is about 21 yards, to help alleviate the potential for flooding on the yard.
Okay. All right, so, Ed, this is your baby, so.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, John. Can you, can you put the other one that you just
Oh, yeah.
had up there, to flip those back? Because I was hoping to identify on that drawing, is all of this entire property resource protected, or is it all shoreland zone?
It is in the setback of the shoreline zone. It's not in the RP zone yet. Some of it is. But the center, the flood, whoops. The flood zone, this is Zone B here, and then Zone C is here.
I'm not I don't relate to the Ds and Cs
Oh,
very
okay,
well,
so
but
so
what would help is, tell me the names of the 2 resources that we keep talking about on either side. One of them is the, I think the Great Goose Bay, or it's the bay, right? It's the big water.
Right, yeah, I'm not sure what you call it, it's,
the ocean?
Is on one side.
see, there's a,
See-
We're not on the ocean. We're not on the bay. We're on the Matson River.
In the estuary,
Carson.
in the estuary.
estuary, yeah, I don't know what it's called,
It's basically salt marsh.
yeah. and it's-
So I understand that it's basically that, but I want to know what's not shown on here are the 2 bodies of water that we are measuring from. And I'd like to see those. I certainly went online, and I understand that well, in fact, I thought that maybe it was 250 feet from the beach. None of these drawings seem to let me see that. Can we see one with the water in it?
Yeah, so this is the original Down Coulomb survey.
Okay?
And they didn't identify what the water bodies were.
Did they identify where they are even? They're not shown on the map. Right?
Well, it's, here, they show the line, the edge of the resource,
Okay.
but they didn't,
All right, so
I-
this one is,
Yeah.
is shown in my package.
Yeah.
Where's the water on that we're
it's,
measuring?
it's
from?
all, it's all marsh. So this would be
So there's no real water.
the marsh, and then this is marsh,
This is marsh.
yes.
Okay. Which way is,
No, it's the
which way is
connection with
Goose
the
Rocks
river
Beach
and
on there? Why am I guessing about this?
Goose Rocks is out
It's
here.
out, it's that way.
How do you know? How do I know?
Well,
I'm
it's,
saying this is this isn't being made easy, just to visualize.
yeah, I could do a big aerial of this sits back,
Even if we had the town drawings, you know,
Well, the
the
GIS map,
map,
well, would give you
GIS
that.
map up, I can put it on the screen if you
that
want.
would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah,
I can-
GIS would do it.
Because now I'm confused.
And it would, how wide is that plot? It should all be shoreline zoning, shouldn't it?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the RP, the Resource Protection Zone,
So
is
what,
in the floodplain.
what I understand is that if I were to see the water on the right-hand side, 75 feet in from that water
Is the resource protection.
is 2/3 of the way across that property. And the 75 foot from the other side is 2/3 of the way from the other direction. They overlap, and you make that point, I found that on the drawings, so that it's clearly all shoreland zone in the setback.
Correct.
I
yeah.
can't figure out what area on that property is resource protected.
This is the GIS, just so you can see that.
Okay.
So that's the highlighted property.
So our RP in Kennebunkport is in the flood zone currently.
Right.
Can you put your cursor on the property?
Yep, I'll just add the flood maps too,
Yep.
one second.
Oh, that's where it's at.
So, this is what we're looking at. Sorry.
Back out a little more?
Yeah, it's finicky.
Can you back out just a bit there? This is this the Batson River here?
No, go up a little bit.
The light blue is the Batson River on that side. And down here, this blue area is
Mark.
salt, part of the estuary. It's connected to the Batson River, right? So it's sort of a back channel.
If you pulled out, you'd see that we have the second.
It's almost like a,
Right.
Yes, that's the end of it up here. And it curls around.
you know, the marsh.
See, it's closer towards the end.
Okay. So we're saying that 75 feet in from this salt marsh side is, like I say, 2/3 of the way across the property. And again, from up here, it's 2/3 of the way in. And it's all Batson River or the back channel of the Batson River. Thank you.
Screenshot of that would be spot on.
It just helps locate it, yeah.
Stop sharing now.
I'll just tell you that I do look at a few of these, and this one, it was, to eke out that information was challenging, and I think 2 years from now, when somebody pulls this folder, it would be nice if it would pop out at them. Now, I'll try to do that in the findings to clarify that in words, but picture would be sweet.
Yep, okay, yeah. No, it's, I can come out on the GIS. I mean, that's where I got that from.
And I suppose it's not critical to me to identify exactly what parts are resource protected or not. I think the case is made that
They're in the setback.
it's a non-developable property where it virgin today. But it's grandfathered, so gonna make the best of it. And what you're proposing, I think, is to try to do that, to improve the current situation. Now, can you help me with the barn slash garage slash, there's some, I can't really tell where the before and after is on this drawing. Can you?
Well,
walk me
well,
through
that's
that?
why I hatched this blue is what is gonna be, taken down. So it's deck and,
Do I have that drawing?
no, well, you have the same drawing, but I just put this hatch on for tonight. I can submit that too.
That'd be
You know.
good. That would be helpful, thank you. So tell me again, which is which?
This outline here is existing structure, deck, stairs, and then this is the garage slash barn entity, and then that's the square footage that's coming forward.
Did I give you back the microphone? My eyes aren't good enough to, I can nod, but I'll be lying. Tell me again what you've done, and then I'll get a copy of this.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, this currently is deck, steps, and then this is the garage slash barn
Currently,
currently.
even including this,
Yep. And that's taken, this is all taken directly from the survey, so the surveyors called it the garage.
just a
And we-
moment, just,
Yep.
this here is all this blue area is all current.
Correct.
Okay. And you're calling all of that area the current barn or the current garage?
Well, the surveyors called it a garage, and it's more of a barn.
You pick one,
Well, I'll call
and
it
let's
a,
be consistent after that.
okay, I'll call it the garage.
Okay, good.
So it's on the survey,
Yep.
and,
And you don't have to call it that, but, yeah. Okay, so we do that, and now, what's going away here? How can I tell what
the whole hatched area is going
so
away.
what's going to be left? The other,
Nothing. This goes away
that whole blue area is going away and nothing's going there, and then where's it going?
here.
So that doesn't, so here,
That's the proposed.
That's the proposed.
yeah, but is that there today?
No, no.
So
All-
nothing below the front of the house, if that's the front, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there. This is all new.
Correct.
So this looks bigger than that in terms of covered area. Is that fair? I mean,
Yes, it could be, but there is some existing here.
oh, no. You just told me it was all not there.
Well, I have to look to see. So here are the existing steps up. I'll have to make that. This is all there. This part and that part.
So do I have a drawing that says, here's what it looks like today, and I have another drawing that says, here's what it looks like tomorrow?
I do believe so.
Okay.
yeah.
I couldn't figure that out.
One's labeled barn and one's labeled garage.
And the barn is the old one or the new one?
Well, you tell me.
I can't tell you.
So, well, it's.
I'm looking for some help in making that simple, so simple even I can understand it.
Okay, well, basically,
I'm not an architect.
basically, the surveyors called it, a garage.
Okay?
So that's there.
And that's today,
That's today. And all this is here today,
the front porch,
that front porch
I would call it.
or deck. But it's not used as a garage.
That's
It's
fine,
used-
that's
That's
fine.
why I ended up calling it a
Doesn't matter
barn.
to me.
For a deck.
No, I just want to pick a name and stay with it. We decided on garage. So the garage
Yeah.
is going to be eliminated
Yep.
and moved to overlay that front,
Nope, up to here.
no, where is that on here, on this drawing?
It's hiding behind the car, but I do have a drawing, an existing drawing for you.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go back and revisit the drawings, but you gotta help me make sure those drawings, make it easy for me to see. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, it used to cover this much, and now it covers that much.
Yeah, I'll color code everything.
Okay.
Because it looks like there's a staircase added at the very minimum.
Yes.
Right, and I was struggling with I think part of that is the old staircase and part of it is as augmented, and I couldn't do the,
Right, one's
what,
on that
how
side.
much area is now covered that wasn't before.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of steps there already, and we're consolidating really into one step.
So I was looking at that in particular because I wanted to quantify. We said, we're actually going to improve the situation with regard to how close this garage is to the resource. And so I wanted to basically be able to put a number on that. Today, it is X number of feet from the Batson River back channel.
Yep, yep.
And in the proposed drawing, see, it's only X minus Y feet from there. And I couldn't,
Didn't you already give us those numbers a few minutes ago?
no,
Well, they're on the,
they're on where? Okay.
That was at 30, yeah.
they were, they're on the smaller scale drawing. So this is showing the 21.
But I don't have that drawing, right?
I think you do. It's just really hard to read. That's why I blew it up. It's an 8th scale drawing.
Is it this one?
Well, this one will show the existing. That's the surveyor. All this is taken from the surveyors.
So it's 21 feet, closest approach today.
Yeah, and then,
And it shows the addition,
Yeah,
but it doesn't show.
Is this the right one?
I don't know.
Got added.
yeah, this is everything, and
No.
part of this is,
I have one
it's
more,
not
I think.
building, it's deck, which is included in the volume calculation.
Square foot.
Yeah,
Here's the volume.
square footage, that deck or a covered patio is, and that's where I thought
There's the 21 again.
there's the 21.
Right, so where is it going to?
yeah, it has to be more.
It's gonna go from here
Read that.
to here, which is, actually, I'll put that dimension on there. I didn't put it on.
Okay,
It's on the other drawing. I redid it. But that,
on the new one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll do that with all the hatching and, yeah.
Well, like Larry related for the previous applicant, you know, one of the ways that we use to try to say, is this all gonna, we're gonna be able to say, yes, we approve this, is to start drafting a findings of fact that says, yes, it was good for this reason and that person, and I like it to be quantifiable.
Yep, yep.
So when I tried to do that, I couldn't find that figure. Well, sometimes, that doesn't mean it's not there, it just means I couldn't find it.
Correct. Yep, no problem.
So that'll help me. I think I had a couple more, but I'm getting close, Tom. I know I'm long-winded today. Barn. Oh, I just wanted, this paved driveway, this area that is down there, what's the story with that? Is that no change?
No change. no,
Okay, that's
no.
just, it is what it is. Talk to me about this area up at the very top right-hand corner that says something to the effect on the survey of, this isn't really in the property, but it belongs to these people, and there's a planter there, and there's something else.
And a shed.
It's the occupied territory versus the property lines. How is that being factored into the area that's covered? And the area that's changing and all of that?
It's not, it's not.
If it's not within the lot,
It's not-
it's
it's
not
not
on the
their-
property.
Is it being expanded?
No, there's no change.
Okay.
It really helps when you're working with a non-conforming lot, and resource protection and shoreland zoning. We get an awful lot of changes in shoreland areas right now. To have a before and after, showing where the resource protection lines are and where the shoreland zoning, whether it's all in shoreland zoning. Because under Section 8 of Land Use Ordinance,
Try to say it.
we have to look at the nonconformances and where you're going with the building, And also, with the shoreland and resource protection, we have to know whether it's going closer to the water or further away from the water.
And by how much?
So it helps a lot to have the before and after.
And to have those boundaries, you know, as clear as we can make them. Let me ask my question about that shed and the planter a little bit differently. The property line cuts through the shed and the raised flower garden, right?
Yes.
When you compute the before and after lot coverage, how much of the shed and planter did you include?
Well, I actually, the surveyors did it, so I assume they took the part that was in the property and not,
You
it's not on the
don't
property.
calculate something that's off the property, even though it may be,
A portion of it is on the property and a portion is not.
right,
Let me
but
be-
you
let me be
take
clear.
the portion that's on the property gets, if it's
It
a
should,
shed,
it
gets
should be,
calculated.
it should be the portion, but I don't see that that's been done. There's no evidence that that's been done. And John's just telling us he's assumed that the surveyor did it. But
Well,
where
it
do
says-
I find,
Calculations.
where do I find the surveyor's
It's
information as to what the lot, the
that
current
one you
coverage is?
had.
Yeah.
So they did a little summary down below, and it just said buildings, didn't, they didn't distinguish between buildings and decks, so.
Okay, it's not, it doesn't look to be sizable enough to matter, but at least I understand now that it is included in this term that isn't, oh, is this term is changing? Are we increasing the impervious
No,
area?
no, we're reducing,
So he included the shed and the raised flower garden. And what are you computing, you're saying that the footprint of everything else doesn't change, or?
the footprint of the main house doesn't change. We are adding more stairs because we're raising the building. And then this is the same, what we're taking out is more than what we're putting back in.
So where do I look to find the calculation of the impervious area, the covered area in the proposed plan?
Well, I put it in the application, but I'll put it right on the plan. I mean, that's the, it's on, those are the questions that are asked on the application.
Let me look in the application. I see the total number was in there.
Yeah.
Is the backup for it, though? Like here, you've broken it into concrete and slate, paved driveway, buildings, steps, those three areas.
Yeah. I can break, I didn't break out what were steps, deck, and structure. I just did the full calculation of what was new, or what the final is, and that's the number that showed up in the application.
If I could just see the backup data for that, that would be great.
Okay.
I don't want you to do a lot of work. It's just, if I could include that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it leads me to say, as supported by backup data provided by the applicant.
Yep,
you
no
know,
problem.
and that'll go in like that. And I'm sorry to say that's all I have.
Oh. Darn.
Thanks for your patience. I appreciate it.
Do you have anything on this?
I have a couple of questions. What's the height of the building?
Just about 27 feet.
Okay, so you're within the Goose Rocks
Oh, yeah,
range, that's
yeah.
what it
And
was.
that's the new building
That's after raising it up. Correct.
after raising.
Correct, yep.
Okay,
Do you know what the current is?
30 inches less than that.
It's,
Less.
I think that was on the survey again.
2'6" less.
Yeah.
Oh,
They had a height of the ridge.
that's the new. What we call, the building elevation is 29.4. But that, I'd have to back out what the average grade is. So they're having the actual elevation of 29.4, and the average grade is,
That's close.
I forget what it was, but I can submit that if you want,
Just
but,
note it,
That'd be
okay,
nice,
yeah.
yeah.
because the max is 30.
Yeah,
Say
so
that
it's
again.
29.4 minus whatever the average grade is, which I think is like 8.8, so it's probably 21,
Yeah.
guessing,
It's 30 feet above,
average grade.
Average grade, current grade, average grade,
he's increasing the grade.
right.
But
You're saying
it-
he gets to go 30 feet above that increase?
No.
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 The total height from average grade can't be more than 30 feet.
Right.
This is pretty much at sea level, right?
Yeah, this is, right here, existing grade is 7.7, so if the existing peak is 29.4,
22, okay, roughly.
so the existing height is 22.
Thank you.
It's-
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's what I had.
All right. So, Scott,
All set.
Larry?
Well, I must admit that the aspect that attracted my attention is the fill. So fill is notoriously unstable. You know, there's a whole bunch of specifications on how to do it properly. It's not, based on what I've seen around here, I'm not sure, well, you may want to really take a hard look at how you put that down and what the composition of the fill is, but that's up to you. But as I understand it, you're going to retain the building intact and raise it up, including the existing foundation, which I presume is a mat?
We're gonna do,
You're going to do piers,
well, it's gonna be a new foundation.
new foundation, new concrete foundation, slab or what? Well, what's it going to look like?
It'll have a slab.
But I mean, you're going to have piers, you're going to prop it up on piers, or are you going to have a basement, or what's it look like?
It's gonna be, it won't have a basement, it's just gonna be elevated 30 inches higher than the existing and
Oh, you're going to build on top of the existing foundation?
No.
No. You're going to fill on top of the foundation, the existing foundation, and then cast a new concrete slab. Okay. So there's definitely a historical tendency for that to crack. I mean, okay, strictly speaking, a crack has got to be wider than 1/8 of an inch for it to be considered a crack. But there's a whole bunch of examples where that happens, okay? And of course, if you have tiles and you get a little bit of settling in your foundation, your slab, you're going to get like splits in your tile, which some people get upset at that. But my point is that you may want to take a really hard look at what the foundation looks like, and it might be more complicated than just putting down some wire mesh and pouring 6 inches of concrete. You're going to want to make it more massive than that. I'm just suggesting, you might want to have somebody look at it pretty hard. That's all.
Yep.
That's all.
Okay, George?
Just a general comment. Sometimes this stuff seems arbitrary, but we get folders on properties where someone did something 25 years ago, and we can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And 25 years from now, someone might do something to this, and they'll come back and they'll say, oh, we understand what it is, now we can make a decision based on it. So
Yep.
we feel nitpicky sometimes, but that's because we are.
No, that's,
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
So,
I'm
Mike,
good.
you're good, okay. Well, so I think we're gonna do the same thing to this one we did in the last. But why don't we open up the public hearing? If there's anyone public would like to speak to this?
Any hands raised?
Any hands raised? Okay, so I'm going to, once again, move that we continue the public hearing to next time.
I'll second that.
I concur,
Okay.
agree.
So I'll go this way.
Approve, yeah, concur.
Approve.
Approve.
Okay. So we'll see you next time,
Foundation I just put in
and you
for
can
my
provide
garage.
Ed his additional stuff before.
Yeah, if you get it into April or whatever,
Either
Yeah, if, it's particularly some, a little more definition on your foundation, you know? A little drawing on your foundation would be very helpful.
concrete,
I may have some more comments on that.
big footers and, a big frost
Okay.
wall. And it's sitting half of it on bedrock. Yeah, that I'm into, so I'm feeling pretty good.
thanks. What's next, Tom?
Okay, next, I'm sorry, is item 230403,
Oh, Lord.
47 Long and Winding Road. Jim Logan
That's on.
and Longview Partners representing. Grabbed the wrong thing, so. I have
I'm
the
so
right-
mixed up.
Thank you, I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Well, it's just-
Members of the board, thanks again for your attention. To the gentleman about the details, I want to thank you for that, because I'm old enough to go back to a file 20 years later and try to ascertain whatever it is anybody did. So you're not wrong.
But subdivision that was kind of on the back of a napkin.
Well, we're here tonight with a 1984 subdivision,
Aha.
a redivision of lot number 3 in that subdivision. That was about 3 years before I started working on subdivisions, and I will tell you that the era of data submission for a subdivision at that time was a whole lot less. So just the level of documentation that would have been required. I'd love to see what ordinance was in place in '84.
Word.
40 years ago.
You think there was one?
39.
39.
However, there was a planning board here, and they looked at subdivisions, and in '84, we did have the current, or some form of the current Maine State Plumbing Code, and at that time, the limiting factor requirement for suitability for first-time homes was 15 inches to a limiting factor in all zones. Currently, we only still have that standard within shoreland zones, and outside shoreland zones, we have dropped that standard down as low as 9 inches. Hence, we have a lot more area that we're able to look at for development in non-shoreland zoned areas. The subject property, I'm here tonight on behalf of Sarah Smith and her daughter Margot. Sarah intends and hopes to build a new home on the newly created 3+ acre lot that will be redivided out of the original lot number 3 of what was the Trumbull subdivision, I guess we're gonna call it. It didn't have an official name, but that was the name of the owner at the time. We now have a new application before you for the preliminary plan. I might request, I know the board has latitude, should it choose to hold a public hearing for the final. Because we've got multiple meetings and I've got some individuals that would really like to get started, this is not very complicated. If the board would feel comfortable, I might request that we hold the public hearing till the final and get through preliminary, get the final, but I'll leave that up to you. The additional information included some of the original stuff we submitted, which did sound the fire chief out, and we had a response from the fire chief, I think, to suggest that we have adequate fire truck turnaround. The fire chief specifically referred to the new Y intersection that would be at the intersection of Long and Winding Road, the existing gravel access that provides current access to the existing home. The new driveway, where it will leave the Long and Winding Road, will form a Y that's consistent with the fire chief's request for the 40-foot fire truck to turn around. Additionally, out near the house, we have a second turnaround planned. That one does not meet the town's official criteria. However, because it's an open field, I think the fire truck still would have an adequate place to turn around there as well.
We updated the authorization. You may remember, we had an authorization form last time. Sarah has power of attorney with her husband, and we included that. We also removed the deed for Lot 4. I think that created some confusion. The Smiths own 2 lots there, but we're only talking about Lot 3. So the new application only has the deed for Lot 3. The new lot is, and we now, for the board review, because it is the preliminary plan phase, have an official survey plan by Dow and Coulomb that has been submitted into your packet. That is sufficient, we hope, for an adequate review and approval and final recording at the registry. That was part of the delay in getting back here, was Mike needed to create that plan. The lot we have configured here has 3 net net acres of upland. The net residential acreage is met. This is the farm and forest zone. 3-acre net is a requirement. The lot as it's configured, and Mike had a meeting with Werner Gilliam prior to this meeting and prior to preparing this plan to make sure that the lot he showed was complying with the ordinance. The frontage along the right-of-way creates the 200 feet necessary for a conforming lot. We have a project that requires no DEP permits, very small amount of wetland impact required for the driveway crossing, and a culvert placement through a swale, a wetland swale in the farm field. Does not require a DEP permit because there's been no fill on this lot since 1995 that would impact or affect the 1/10 of 1 acre exemption that the DEP does provide for in this type of wetland. We have identified a small number of wetland impact square footage that is significantly less than the 4,300 allowed. So we think that this is sufficient for planning board review and what ultimately will be permitting through the code enforcement office.
That makes sense.
I will just throw a comment out about the Corps of Engineers. I don't know who's paying attention to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. There was a recent Supreme Court ruling that suggested that wetlands that do not contain navigable waterways of the United States are no longer going to be part of the oversight of the Army Corps of Engineers. We will continue, probably as a matter of course, to submit to the Corps just as these changes come into play to make sure we're doing our full diligence. I don't expect any pushback on this anyway because we've proposed a 3-foot culvert. That's the diameter that they generally have and want in their specifications and standards. So as a matter of course, we'll probably notify the Corps, but I don't think that they're any longer going to be involved in these kinds of wetland applications. Work below a high water line or in a navigable waterway of the United States likely will still get Corps review.
So if it were shoreland zoning or resource protection, you'd still get the ACOE?
No, you got to be clear about that. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers gets no review until you impact a wetland or a water body. There's no adjacency with the Army Corps of Engineers. The DEP is the agency at the state level that has adjacency to the natural resources, and that's where the permits by rule and so forth come in.
So
The one time the Corps weighs in is in a subdivision with regard to vernal pool habitat. They have a different set of definitions than the DEP does, and there are requirements for that.
Okay. So you're basically only under main DEP jurisdiction?
Correct, because we have no shoreline zoning here in the vicinity of the house site. I will suggest to the board, and Mike Coulomb's survey plan does show a water body that is within the wetland. That water body gets a 75-foot offset, and that is shown on the plan. The proposed dwelling is nowhere near that, literally hundreds of feet away from that stream. So we don't see any issue with that. And that's about all I have.
So you don't need a letter of exemption or anything from the DEP?
They typically do not issue letters to that effect.
Okay.
This is just something that we, as a rule, prove to code enforcement, and code enforcement it's really important. This is where I feel the personal import to mapping the square footage of the impact. The DEP currently has no requirement to record that impact to determine when you hit the 4,300 threshold. I know towns like Kennebunkport, they want to do a good job of documenting, and we, as consultants, work closely with Kennebunkport. We do it in York. A lot of towns, not so much Kennebunk, because they regulate all wetlands, and there are very few exemptions in Kennebunk. However, we like to put something to paper that ends up in the file for that map and lot, so that code enforcement, perhaps, or a consultant like me, perhaps, can go into the town file to see the history for the property, to see what has happened there in the past. Because there's no recording requirement of the DEP, and I've suggested in the past, why is this not a permit by rule? There are 21 other permits by rule. Why don't we do one for the exemption and begin a track record of a computation of area? Because over time, this is the whole cumulative impact of wetlands we talk about, that this growing impact once a house is built. We're trying to create some kind of a track record so that for the public or for the code enforcement people in the town, there's something to go by, because the state currently has no recording requirement. We map an awful lot of it. We prove it on paper all over the
They
place.
do, but at a certain level.
It's
4,000?
triggered at 4,300 square
4,300,
feet,
right.
which is, if you think of it, a tenth of 1 acre,
Yeah.
about.
So if you have 10 houses and none of them meet that, but they all are 4,000 square feet, the cumulative effect is very large.
Correct, and if you're in a subdivision, not every lot is entitled to that exemption.
Right.
It's only is for lots that predate 1995. Any new lot, you gotta look at the whole impact of the project. Okay,
No, thank you.
Yeah, really.
okay. So I'm available for questions from the board.
Okay, we start,
Very simple application again.
work our way down to Mike.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification on the turnaround
Yeah.
for the fire, because I was thinking really it was just needed at the Y, kind of at the property, not also up at the house. And I thought the way it looked to me that it was a double there, and I was kind of like, well, you don't need to do that, but you'd already figured that out. So, all right.
Paragraph 2 of the chief's letter speaks to the
Yeah.
50 feet of the road and the driveway, and basically just making sure that the area is
Yeah. And
free of
and
obstruction.
it works, the one out, what I call the front of the property works fine. And it seemed to me that there was the other one up by the new house location, and that seemed kind of redundant.
Well, it's
But-
redundant, but it's allowing someone who's at the garage to back out of the garage and turn
No,
around.
and that's absolutely needed, but
Yeah,
you don't need it for a 500-foot ladder truck. with-
Well, they want probably to have the truck as close to the house as they can get it. And again, if it's an open field, they'll probably
You'll-
make a
you'll get
radius
there.
turn.
Yeah, they'll get there,
Yep.
all right. And I had a question on acreage, but George slurred me out, so I'm good.
Thanks, George. Thanks in advance.
It's in the fine print.
Always is. It's a matter of finding it.
Yeah. George, any
All
questions?
set, thank you.
Okay. Larry?
I'm okay, thank you.
So you've got a write-up on the turnaround in here, right?
Yes, the fire chief
fire
has
chief
responded. That is part of, I think that is,
Yeah, I remember reading it.
It's right there.
Good, and the chief's letter's there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where is it, Scott? I didn't see it either.
I don't,
It's toward the back.
Yeah,
Is
I
it?
remember reading
Yeah,
it.
toward the back. It's like the last attachment.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for meeting with me on 3/8/23.
Attachment 17.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
Can you just outline
I don't see
the
it
two
labeled as
lots
that.
on
It's at the
that
very end.
diagram there?
Yeah, there it is.
I'm not completely clear where some of the lines are.
Take the mic with you.
So you're looking at the.
Take the mic with you, please.
I would draw your attention to the darkest of the solid lines
Right.
as the exterior boundary of the original lot prior to its division. You'll note over here, there's a stone wall making up part of that property line. So it's not, parts of it are represented as a stone wall symbol. But essentially, it's this dark outer line as the whole outside property line, and then this division line in the middle. Well, not quite in the middle, because there's still a much larger portion here. This is the newly proposed conforming lot. It shows net lot area right in it. Shows the potential, the proposed house, shows a septic site, the wetlands we've delineated.
No, I understand that.
So this is the division line in between. He's given it meets and bounds already.
The Woods Road then goes a little bit outside the property line on the existing, to the existing house.
That's correct.
Okay. And this dotted line here, this solid line coming off the dotted line at the bottom of the,
That's a stone wall, and
that's just a stone wall, but
Right.
you're here and then you go off.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I just wasn't clear. You've got a zigzag in there as well.
That's the funny nature of this outer boundary, where in places it's a stone wall, in places it's just a invisible line across the land.
Okay, so that the stone wall where the new road crosses, okay, that's not part of the lot line, it's just a straight line coming in.
That's correct. That's an old farm field wall. If you see it, it extends into the
Right.
old lot near the existing house. It's nothing to do with the property line at that point.
Okay,
Not all stone walls are property lines.
all right. I'm all set.
Was Scott finished? Was Scott done?
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's here.
Oh, okay.
It's at the back. Right here.
Jim, when you talked to the fire
the
chief,
last
did
three
you
pages.
bring up the issue of the existing fire pond and whether he was comfortable with that supporting another dwelling?
This one?
Yes, that was
That
brought
one,
up.
next
That's why
page?
we've indicated it in a location plan to you.
So for the final, we'll be looking for a letter from him that comprises, that
don't
topic
know,
as well.
You may have just a.
I didn't see it.
I don't know. Because this is.
Attachment 17?
What's the date on yours? I don't think.
Just
you've got
seems
the
to be
latest
focused on the turnaround.
one. Yeah, I think there's a more recent, okay, April 20. April, see, so you haven't got you're not looking at the latest one, it's much thicker.
Yes, he does not,
must have
he
another
does
one.
not specify.
Anecdotally, we've been told that there has been concerns about fire
He
ponds.
expressed none.
I understand,
we'll-
but
we can-
we'll just want to capture that again for the final. That's all I had, thank you.
Okay.
So, everybody is,
We're good.
Yeah,
okay. So this is an initial review, so at this point, we, I think, feel this is a complete initial review, so the.
Yes, I think the package is complete.
Yeah, the package is complete, so I need someone to so move.
Well, because he wants to have the,
We will discuss that, let's get it complete, then discuss that, okay?
okay,
okay.
I'll make a motion to,
No, he completed, sir. Just
oh,
give
he
me a
did it.
second.
I'll second it.
Okay. So, Ed,
I agree.
Agree.
agree?
Agree.
Okay, now we want to discuss the request from Mr. Logan.
My hope is to combine the public hearing for what would be the preliminary plan, bring it right to you with a final, new application, have the public hearing, hopefully get our approval. If, I'm not, there aren't a lot of big issues. I don't know what we've got from the public, but I think Sarah would have heard if there was a lot of pushback from our neighbors. So if it's possible to expedite this, just because, if I made a mistake, I'll tell you this.
Hold on, before we go too far here. I don't see how it's going to save any time, Jim. We got to have another follow-up to this, you get some information. We're going to have a second meeting on this on the 21st, right? We're not going to
I thought if I provided you.
We're not going to approve this tonight.
only
We just
thing-
said it was complete tonight.
I know, but the only thing you've asked for in addition was the fire chief to clarify that the pond is adequate. So if I can move to a final application.
Oh,
we
you're
can
looking
we
for
can-
approval tonight.
He's looking for approval of the preliminary.
That
in
was my
order
hope.
To move on 30 days. from
Again, I
now
haven't
to
heard a lot of
final.
pushback from the board or that anything is lacking or insufficient. Just to, and I know this is irregular for you folks
So-
because you
so
like
I-
the public hearing
so-
everything.
So I will tell you,
Never done it.
I will tell you that being just the initial review, I don't always have the time to spend a lot of time carefully reading a document. And I let myself off the hook thinking, probably not going to be the case manager, but I'll have some time later. I haven't taken the time to go through this as carefully as I will if there's a follow-on. And second, I think our public meetings, certainly the two that we've had tonight, have only cost us about 2 minutes. I don't want to be on record as having gone by the opportunity for a public hearing.
I didn't have a chance to finish. I inadvertently explained to these folks that the submission requirements of Kennebunkport's ordinance say that you have to get stuff in 14 days prior to a meeting. It's not true of subdivisions, it's 30 days, and I missed that. And so these folks are now several months further back, partly because I missed your official process. I'm just asking, is there a way to expedite, that's all. If you want to stand on ceremony, have the other public hearing.
So I think
We're
that-
at your mercy.
I think that's unfair to say I would be standing on ceremony. I think I just told you that I haven't taken the time to carefully review this because I didn't understand there was an urgency. I thought we would follow our standard process, honestly.
No issue.
I don't mean to cause
I'm not-
anyone a hardship,
I'm not being argumentative.
but I don't think the way
I just
to
thought I
go on
would
the
address
record is to say, oh, and we didn't have time for the public hearing that we normally hold.
That's not what I was suggesting.
No, no, no,
Again,
but
I
that's what it
prefaced
might
everything
be
I said
perceived
by
as.
saying there was no issues raised by the board, and
Well,
if it was
But
possible,
I think
wanted
the
to.
So I'm
issue
gonna
is,
stop talking, but
the process is
cents.
well documented, and so are we, I'm not sure we're even authorized to alter the process.
I believe there
Right.
is wording in the ordinance that says, and I wouldn't recommend this otherwise, that says it is the board's discretion.
It is,
But I
it is
underst-
at the board's discretion.
But if it's not procedure, I don't want to push you.
Well, I'll agree with you. What the risk is not whether you've reviewed it enough or not. It's the risk that the applicant takes going forward into final, that they may have enough pushback on it, saying this plan is incorrect, that they have to go back and redo everything and take another few weeks or so. That's the reason that we have sketch plans and then preliminary and then finals.
And I wouldn't be asking other than this is a fairly simple application. And these, I misinformed these folks about the timeframes required for subdivision versus your other site plan reviews. All of your other reviews is 14 days. Subdivision, you gotta be in 30 days ahead of time, if you're
Well,
doing it by the
it's-
book.
It's not a matter of timing, it's a matter of can we do that process? Okay.
Yeah.
Werner isn't here, and
Yeah.
you don't have do you have that kind of information? Do you know where it would be in the subdivision regs?
I don't know exactly.
Because I'd have to go through, did you read it in the subdivision regs?
I have seen it in the past, yes.
So let's just recap. So if we stick with the current process, so we're going to have a public hearing next
on the
time.
21st.
On the 21st.
21st.
And then,
You'd have to wait until the 21st of the following.
and then the 21st of July, there would
whenever.
be the final application.
And then you have to deem that
And then
complete.
another 2 weeks for the final public hearing.
Right.
So that would be like 1st of August.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at, yeah. Okay. Well,
This was hopefully a project for this spring, but it's clearly not that.
It's just this is the first we're hearing about the urgency, Jim.
No, that's fine.
yeah.
I think I did mention it.
But
during the
even
sketch
if
plan,
we
but that's okay.
expedite this, they're only going to be saving a couple of weeks, right?
That's correct. This
So-
is 2 weeks.
It would save 2 weeks, I think. So, mid-July versus 1st of August, and it doesn't require us to deviate from our
They go
documented process.
If I remember correctly, wasn't this a major revision to a subdivision?
Yes.
You've
Well,
corrected
it
us,
was,
yes.
yeah.
That's two processes.
It was a major revision.
That's the
Yeah.
reason why we took minor out of the term or the terminology on the
Yes.
front of the application.
The sketch plan was labeled minor, and we.
It's not, it's a major
It's
revision.
major.
Major because, again, of
Yeah.
the way the
We,
subdivision
that's
worked.
why we resubmitted as a preliminary plan for,
And
we
I
didn't
believe
call it a
in
major,
one
but
of
it's,
them, we did combine
we've treated it as a major.
public hearings. We did combine public hearings,
Yeah.
I thought it had been done in the past, but I didn't want to speak out of
if I
turn.
remember correctly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find, it's
I-
section 9, isn't it? Go back there. I remember where it is. Revisions, major revisions.
Because I think that the way, if it has been done in the past, and again, as I said, I've only been here for 9 or 10 years, if it was done as the final was not necessary, that the first public hearing might be the only one, because we get no responses to the first public hearing, we don't necessarily need a second public hearing.
Right.
But you're asking us to skip the first so that we only have the second. And I think
Do we do it the other way?
should reverse it to do it in.
If you're, either, whatever way expedites the process is
that-
all
I
I'm
think
trying
that-
for these
That would
folks.
expedite the process the
Okay.
same way.
Well, then we'll come back at the very next opportunity for that public hearing, and
Yeah,
hopefully
so
we're
If you have the
successful.
public hearing at the next meeting,
Then we can
that may
return.
well be the only public hearing.
Right.
Okay.
If it goes like tonight's public hearings,
Okay,
it may well go like.
I can
but
accept that.
we're not gonna have no public hearings, period. So let's have the first one
Okay.
on the preliminary,
So the date again was?
2 weeks hence, 21st.
21st of
21st.
June.
Perfect. Very much appreciated.
Yep. Okay, thank
I
you.
appreciate your
And then
consideration.
if you could get as many of the provisions in that you've got listed here, for that first public hearing, at least add to that. It would help to get us right through the final as well.
What are you talking about, the provisions? What?
You have,
Just a clarification, a point of
yeah, the
clarification
fire
for me?
application.
I think that's it.
And we don't need things like, oh, you're requesting waivers there.
Yeah, and one thing I did note, and I will provide between now and then, is I didn't actually write justifications. I have spoken about those in the past, would ask again and be able to provide, justification verbally, but I will also put it in writing as well between now and the public hearing.
I would put it in writing for the public hearing, because then you can deal
As
with
part
that
of the
We
pretty
public
often,
quickly.
we usually do the waivers twice, once for the
Yeah.
preliminary and once for the final, so.
We'll get it. I
so
think,
then we'll
was that the only
discuss
item?
waivers next time.
Was just the waiver request,
And
the justifications?
fire,
The waiver
fire
justification.
department.
And the fire pond, yep.
Fire pond.
So, yeah.
And again, I for one am fine with waiting until the final for the fire pond.
Well, I just, we may just as well get the stuff and get
Absolutely.
it to you.
Yep,
The
I
sooner
agree.
you have it,
You
the
got
more,
it. If you don't have it, we'll
Don't worry.
expect it for.
yeah, I would
for the
expect we'll,
final.
I would expect to have that hopefully by the next meeting.
Good.
Okay.
All right,
We
thank you.
thank you.
Which brings us to the last item.
Who's the case
Same as
manager?
the first, we get.
Who's the
see
case
Mike
manager
again.
on that?
Who's gonna be the case manager?
Oh, who's been a case manager on this one?
I'll do it. I've done every one of its last 3.
So are you?
Might as well be consistent.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So you're the.
Scott is an expert.
I mean, you're
Yes,
going to go another 3 years.
yes.
Okay.
You're the James Wishner.
I didn't want to, assign you as
Right,
case
right.
manager and then have you leave at the end of June.
I could do like 3/4.
Don't leave.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay,
Just do the easy parts.
so Scott is the case manager.
Okay.
And that brings us back to
Wiles District.
item
Yep.
2 230501 Wilds District Road.
Yeah.
Terry again, and there's Michael again.
Yes, hello. Good evening again. Mike Tadamo Wieland, civil engineer with Teradyne Consultants. I'm here with Jeff Bowley, who's the applicant on this. Jeff does not own this site, but he does have it under contract. He has a purchase and sale agreement on this. So we're here for sketch plan
Okay,
review.
one thing I should point out is you don't have a letter of authorization in this
Well,
application.
this is a sketch.
Just a sketch plan, right?
Still,
Sketch.
he's representing somebody,
That's true.
and you really need to have something. So if Jeff is the
Okay, the
person,
person's here, so.
Sounds like he's got verbal authorization.
yeah, if we could have a verbal authorization and then a written authorization when you put in the
Sure.
Preliminary plan.
The preliminary will definitely need.
Yeah. He's
You don't
authorized
own
to
it
speak
yet.
for you, right?
He has my authorization.
Right.
But
Good.
And he has
don't
a
own it yet, though.
contract on them. He has a contract on it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the requirement, submission requirements from sketch plan are very minor. This is not a binding hearing or anything like that. It's,
Yeah.
I understand that, but still, you're representing the property owner, basically.
no, I'm representing someone who has a.
Purchase and
a
sale.
Purchase and sale
Purchase and sale
agreement.
agreement, but basically the person who will have
Will be the.
the property owner. And we're not, it would be amiss if we let somebody come up here and stand and talk about a property that they didn't have authorization to talk about under any circumstances, really.
Which is on the sketch plan application, what you're saying. That it, please be, to include a letter of authority.
Exactly. So even on the sketch plan, you have to have an authorization. So if Jeff could come up and just read into the record that you authorize Mike to represent you for this, represent the property, it would be helpful.
Hi, my name is Jeff Bowley, Beechwood Development Fund. I authorize Mike Tadamo Wieland of Teradyne Consultants to act as my agent for the purpose of presenting application for sketch plan to the Kennebunkport Planning Board for the subject parcel described.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. And follow up with a written one when you do the preliminary.
Will do. Yep, absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah, and probably with the preliminary, we'll need an actual copy of the PNS.
Sure. Yes. So this parcel is on the south side of Wilds District Road. It is about 4 acres in size, and it's in the village residential zone. This is a fairly straightforward sketch plan. We're obviously very early in the process and just looking for some preliminary feedback before we really dig into design and preparing a preliminary application for it. So the site is forested, undeveloped. There's about half an acre of freshwater wetlands on the property. The adjacent the site or the lot adjacent to this on Wilds District Road does have a man-made pond in behind it, and it extends that partially onto this site, and the proposed road that we're showing sort of drives right past it but doesn't impact it. Longview Partners, Jim Logan, who's also here tonight, was the one who delineated the wetlands on the site, so if there are any questions about natural resources that I can't answer, Jim might be able to step in and provide some background on that. There is public sewer and public water in Wilds District Road, so both of those public utilities would be extended up the proposed road to serve these 3 lots. This has been designed as a traditional subdivision, whereas many of the ones that we've brought before you in the past, including the Mills Road subdivision that was before you earlier tonight, was a cluster in which we were reducing lot sizes and preserving additional open space with high ecological value. This one has 3 lots that all meet the dimensional standards of the zone. They're all 40,000 square feet in size and have appropriate frontage. And in addition to that, there's 15% open space, which is a requirement of the zoning ordinance, or the subdivision ordinance. The open space set aside on the sketch plan includes the wetland adjacent to Wiles District Road, which is the portion of that man-made pond I mentioned before. And it's about, the area of open space is about 27,000 square feet. The proposed road is 350 feet long, which is, will create impervious area significantly below any threshold that would require a DEP permit. So really the only permit necessary for this would be the subdivision approval from you folks. Again, fairly straightforward, I think. 15% open space, and the remainder of the parcel would be broken into 3 lots, meeting all the dimensional requirements. And so we're here tonight just seeking initial feedback from you folks. Thanks.
So I was just sort of trying to understand, how far down away from the other way on the road on Wiles District is the break off of South Main?
Yep, so,
Because that's where this is. I see Wakefield pasture there. So.
yeah, if you look at, in the application itself, there's a location map
Oh, okay.
that shows where it is, right in attachment 1. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, so it's all right, okay.
This backs up to Rocky Pasture Road, right?
It does. Rocky Pasture abuts this parcel.
Could you point out where this adjoining pond is? I couldn't quite make it out on
The ponds that I was talking about?
yeah, the one that's on the adjoining
Yeah.
property. I just wasn't sure where that actually,
Yep.
I got a feel.
So it's this wetland area that we're showing out near Wiles District Road. So the pond really extends into this lot as well.
Okay, so it's an actual pond, not just wetlands?
It's a man-made pond, yep.
Okay, but it's over here.
Michelle, are there setback requirements from that water in these freshwater wetlands required?
Honestly, I'm not positive about that. That's kind of more of a codes question than what I would know the answer to.
Okay.
But, I mean, Mike, do you have an answer for that?
So I believe that there would be no setback requirement in the subdivision ordinance. If it were a natural pond, or if it were some sort of significant wetland, there would be setbacks associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Jim wants to clarify any more.
Do you know what that is?
Again, Jim Logan was the one who studied the natural resources on this site.
For certain wetlands, and they're generally not forested wetlands, they would, by DEP standard, get a 75-foot offset at worst case. These would be areas with no vegetation over the top of the wetland system. Freshwater wetlands predominantly, but so wet that no trees are growing there. When you have a component of the wetland over 20,000 square feet of that kind of wetland, and you can see those really well on the air photos, then any part of that wetland system, according to DEP, should get the 75-foot setback. We sometimes get in trouble as consultants because we have one wetland system that extends across multiple properties, so that the entity that has more than 20,000 square feet of no trees that part of the wetland system may be 4 lots down. In the case of this one, they're strictly forested wetlands, and we didn't identify them as wetlands of special significance. That's the terminology embedded in the DEP Natural Resources Protection Act
So this is
that
still
speaks to
forested, it
these.
doesn't go down to
Correct.
the meadow that I look out over.
Correct, although I want to distinguish between a wet farm field. A wet meadow is not the same kind of emergent marsh that triggers oftentimes the WAS designation.
Yeah.
WAS being the acronym for Wetland of Special Significance. That's what the consultants generally
That's
toss
my
around.
view.
Jim, while you're up there, just in the sake of efficiency, could you speak to the vernal pool that's identified on one of these charts? And
Yeah, there's,
what-
these folks came along.
You did a
to-
full assessment of the wetlands
No,
of this
well,
property?
We did not hit the appropriate timeframes for
yeah.
the April, May egg count season. That would be where we would survey vernal pool habitat for the presence of the amphibian egg masses. Starts April 12th, runs through, or we found that lately it's been right at the very beginning of April, even though the published dates are later. We're finding, and perhaps climate change is involved earlier. But anyway, we did not have the opportunity to study it officially. The DEP standards respond to these kind of cases by saying the rules suggest if you have not studied it, but you identify it as vernal pool habitat, you must treat it as significant in your project plans unless it's proven otherwise.
Unless you could rule it out.
Correct.
I've heard anecdotal stories that this is turtle country, that this property is quote unquote loaded with turtles. Turtles are out laying their eggs on the road and, I'm just saying.
I have heard, the hearsay is all over town. You can
Well, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah,
What did you find? Oh,
I-
you didn't look at it in the right time frame to see that, though.
Correct, but I have been there during multiple times.
So from a sketch
And
plan
what I'll
point
tell
of
you
view,
about
walk away with the concern, that's all I'm asking.
No, I don't have a particular concern, and as part of his diligence, there would be a review of the state mapping for turtle sightings in the neighborhood.
Well, I think we would be looking for, given that if we hear from the public that there is turtle activity traditionally in this area, we'd be looking for a professional assessment of the wetland for that. That someone who's certified, like yourself, perhaps could do in the right time frame.
So spotted turtles, which are a threatened, I don't know if they're threatened or endangered in the state of Maine,
Rare, threatened, or endangered.
are regulated by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife.
So they would have to do that survey.
Well, no, they wouldn't do the survey, but as part of the application process, we would consult with IF&W. IF&W are the ones who keep the database on turtle sightings and turtle habitat. So they would be the agency we would work through for that.
And that would be required, then, you're saying, for this property?
If the planning board required it, it would be required. Again, I don't believe the DEP would be involved in this project.
Again, if the
This
public
is
input
this
is
a
consistent.
subject. This has come up before.
Sure.
Mike's comment earlier tonight referred to portions of your ordinance that don't require certain things. I don't know that a turtle survey is explicitly required by your ordinance. They're really hard to perform, and they're very difficult, and literally you have to trap the turtle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, quite frankly, that's beyond my area of
I see.
expertise. That's a herpetologist. It's a very specialized position, and these things are on the move all the time.
So I understand it's not you, I got it.
And we had it done on Mills Road because
Yeah.
because IF&W, we sent a letter to IF&W, and IF&W said
And it was,
we think there's turtle habitat, please go study it, and that's what we did.
It's usually triggered
Again, I'm
by a
just
nearby
passing
site.
along the anecdotal
Understood.
conversations I've been party to, and
We appreciate the comment, and
we'll
we'll,
put that to bed. I think you're gonna hear it from the public, but
okay.
who knows?
Great, thank you. Yeah, Jeff wants to speak to it.
So I guess just for clarity's sake, in doing this at Pinnacle Hill Phase 1, Phase 2, and then for Mills Road as
Yeah,
as Mike mentioned, the IF&W has a map which says, here's where there's potential endangered species.
got it.
That's the rule that we typically follow to determine whether or not IF&W needs to come in and do a mapping or not. So I guess my question is, are you saying, Ed, that the board is going to require that?
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying, well, again, I think I was clear about what I said. I didn't say the board was requiring that.
So you're saying that if IF&W requests it, then we'll need to provide it, which is obvious, right?
I didn't go that far either.
Okay.
I'm saying, again, I have been party to anecdotal conversations that say that that is turtle country, and that I think you're going to hear from the public that there is a concern from abutters. It's a sketch plan. I thought I'd raise that concern to you, and now I know you'll be prepared to deal with it.
Do you have the plan, sketch from that
The
source
IF&W?
that shows that this is not?
So it's a standard practice for us to go through and look at the IF&W natural resource map and see this isn't, not unlike, Mills Road is a 70-acre parcel, right?
Right.
This is a 4-acre parcel in a suburban environment, so there's houses built, all up and down that road, all up and down Wells District Road. So, if IF&W states that we need to do it, then we'll certainly do it. But what I guess I'm concerned about is that somebody said it's turtle country, and then we're being directed to go do something,
Right,
that's all.
but if you had a map, a topography that showed that your area wasn't in that identified area,
That'd be
then you
sufficient.
should be more
That would be
comfortable.
sufficient enough for the board?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Just a brief comment. Ed, you started the whole conversation about vernal pools, talking about the little one in the back of this property. And I will at least give you my opinion. I've looked at these since 2005, the year that the law kicked in. And my instinct is that one that we're talking about is neither large enough in surface area, nor is it deep enough with a long enough hydro period to meet significant standards. Can't say it for sure, just my opinion for the record. That doesn't affect turtle habitat at all. And the truth is, if you're gonna find a turtle out there, you're gonna find it in the man-made pond next to the road.
Interesting, yeah.
So I think I'd like to add one final thing here. Obviously, we're aware of the potential vernal pool, and we're aware that we're outside. We're past the time frame where it can be positively either determined to be significant or determined to be not significant based on the state criteria for those things. So as Jim said, what we do in this situation is we assume significance. And in that case, it means a 250-foot,
Exclusion area, yeah.
well, not an exclusion area, but within 250 feet of the vernal pool, which the state at least considers the critical habitat around a significant vernal pool, clearing would be limited. And so the state says if it is significant, you're allowed to clear up to 25% of the area within 250 feet. So we would, without positively determining that there's no significance, we would put that restriction on there, that only 25% of the area within 250 feet can be cleared. So without a doubt, that will be located on some of these lots. So some of these lots will have clearing restrictions associated with that requirement.
Okay, so, I think you've heard from us, which is all that happens on the sketch plans.
Well, I
so-
just had another couple of
You're gonna-
questions.
And I have some more too, Tom.
Oh, okay,
When-
go
No, no,
ahead.
please, Larry, go ahead.
Well, so I was interested in the Central Main Power easement.
Yes.
How does that affect your plan? None?
So there's overhead utilities there.
Okay.
Is- You're allowed to put a road through there and that sort of thing, so we'll coordinate with them, but I don't expect it to.
So those are power lines going overhead,
They're
basically?
overhead power, yeah.
So then I saw you have CMP pole number 1. Is that, you gonna add any poles down here somewhere for CMP?
I don't think we've determined how this is gonna be served.
Okay.
I guess I don't know the nature of that. I don't know if houses in this area are served by overhead power, or if that's more of a transmission line. I just,
I would guess
Okay,
it's
that's something.
transmission.
That's something-
sorry?
I guess it's transmission.
Yeah. So certainly more information will be coming on that.
Okay.
And we'll coordinate with CMP on that.
Isn't the trend today to put the power underneath going to the
Yeah.
house?
Absolutely.
Bury
Yeah,
it, yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
most,
this is-
the
this is
vast
the
majority of
existing-
subdivisions.
This is the existing easement, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the existing line.
So
going-
even
Right.
though there's existing overhead power, doesn't mean that we won't be putting underground power
right,
to
right.
to the
serve
house
houses.
site, to the house site. Do you know if the deed contains any easements from CMP?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So also on lot 2, you got a little bit of wetland there.
Yes.
Is that gonna need a bridge or a box culvert or just fill?
So that would, the plan would be to have the building envelope closer to the road,
Okay,
so that this plan wouldn't include impacting that.
okay.
I think if the lot owner decided to pursue that, they could. Like you've already heard tonight, wetland impacts in a subdivision are cumulative, so if that lot owner and the next lot owner and they all decide they wanna impact some of these wetlands, it would add up and eventually it would require a permit from the DEP.
Okay. And then notice lot 1 is also somewhat irregular. So is there anything special about this sort of northwestern portion?
That sort of triangle in the back.
Yeah,
It's just leftover area, right? I
Okay.
mean, it's part of the parcel,
all right.
and so it's included on that lot. Clearly, nothing is proposed. In fact, the building envelope won't be back there. You won't be able to put a structure back there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
It's just an irregularly shaped
All right,
parcel.
okay, that's all.
Ed, you said you had another.
Yeah, just, have you thought about the road width and the frontage on Wiles District and line of sight and these type of issues? You got all of that covered?
We're starting to study that now,
Think you're okay, though,
generally.
yeah, okay. And the-
We have located that road as far to the east as possible, really, to avoid the wetland.
Oh, you're saying that the property has more frontage than just that road width?
Well,
Yeah, so
this whole
the open space area
space area.
is also,
This is
This
the
is Wild
open-
District.
This is the open space area.
Yeah.
So you've got more
In
front.
the front,
so there's about 100 feet of frontage,
yeah.
Okay.
and
By putting it over that way, though, you're close to another driveway.
well, there's a driveway on the other side as well.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
but it
you've
looks
thought
like
about,
it's further.
you've thought
well,
about all that, I
no,
guess is
there's
what
a
I'm
lot
hearing.
there, okay. Doesn't show. All right.
That's all I had.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. So, I guess you've heard,
Thank you very much.
you've heard from us, and
We'll continue on, and
we'll see you in another however many days it takes to come back with the preliminary.
great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
You think it's 30 days, so this was 30 days somewhere in there.
Okay.
All right, well, I will
Thanks, Jim.
entertain another motion.
I got one more thing.
Oh,
Oh, one more
I
thing.
did one more thing, and I sent electronic copies to Werner. I did a deep dive on bird strikes,
oh,
And I got all sorts of information on that, if anybody is interested, from scientific studies on to ways of reducing to all sorts of stuff. So I pulled up a whole bunch of information on that. You can have it electronically, or I can give you some paper copy if you're interested.
Between the tree committee and this committee, believe me, I have all that
You got
information.
that?
I'd love to have the electronic copy, Mike.
Yeah, the
Thank you.
electronic one would be great, yeah.
All right, Michelle, can you send that out then?
Sure, yeah, I can have April send it out.
to Warner in April.
Okay.
All right. Cool. But I've learned more about bird strikes
Who,
than I ever wanted to know.
whose work are you citing? Is it,
It was
what
multiple
organization?
sources.
Oh, multiple?
I've got,
There are multiple
scientific
organizations.
studies and, from Fish and Wildlife, from, the.
Maine Audubon, from the National Audubon, from Portland
Yeah,
cities,
so all
the
sorts
federal
of-
proposed
And then also,
laws.
for
No,
me,
I-
was the recommended remediation, which was good. And, yeah, again, another area that I was thinking that we can, it's good for education if we can actually provide stuff to developers or people submitting, saying, you know, here.
I agree.
Some recommended,
I have done that in the past. I've put together
yeah,
information and handed it out to developers, and it's not such a bad thing to have.
yeah, is there I was thinking like almost a repository or something within the planning board where people can go get this, so when we say,
Nina.
yeah, but no, when people are doing it, you know, that here's this kind of information on bird strike, here's the information on herbicides and pesticides that we have.
Yes, we can.
Reference
We can do that on our website.
Yeah, if,
Resource page.
We just need to find the right links to make sure that the developers get in there. The other area that's beginning to become very concerning, which is related to that, is the insect population has drastically dropped thanks to pesticide use and so forth, which is affecting food source for wildlife like birds
And turtles.
and turtles and so forth.
the next one that I was working on was sound reduction, so pesticides and insects will be later in the year.
Okay.
Well, the
I'll be glad to let you take that on.
Very good.
All right, so I
Thank you,
will
Mike.
have
Take a
that
motion,
sent.
please.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're done.